All right, welcome back to this video. Today we're going to be talking about how to set up a multi-track recording from your X32 or your M32 console right into your laptops, which is going to allow you to do a digital sound check, meaning you can record your band when they practice, you can play it back through your console, and you can make changes not only to your room and your house mix, but also to your stream. Let's dive in. To get started, we need a printer cable, which is a USB A to B connection. And we plug that into the X-USB slot on the back of the console. And in this example, I'm also going to plug a microphone into channel 32 as well for later on that we can record. All right, so to start off with this, we've got our scene here. We're looking at the X32 console. Obviously, this is going to work with the M32 line of consoles as well. But we're going to start off going into this screen up here, and we're going to go into our routing tab. All right, so we push routing, and then here at the top we've got the options where we can use our left and right page over buttons. And right now we're on inputs. So one big thing to remember here is that you've got this new feature in version 4.0 where you can preset some record features or some play features. And so what that means is that right now, on the record side, all of my inputs are going to be coming from AES50A, is how I have them set up. And then I can quickly replay to do what we call virtual sound check. And I can just flip this over to play. And now all of my inputs are coming from my card. So they are currently mapped so that everything goes channel 1 going from my laptop into channel 1 going into channel 1 on the console. Now you could come down here and set up some user ins, some customized settings for those. But for this application and for all of our purposes here, we're just going to have it set for my recording coming from AES50A and my playing coming in through the card. Do notice that the aux ins are still the same, so if I have any external auxiliary inputs, maybe a laptop or something of that sort, right now those are not changing between my record scene and my playing scene. So that's step one, is to just make sure that that's set up. By default, your record scene is actually set up on local 1 through 8, local 9 through 16. All the local inputs are how they're set up, but you have probably made changes for your service and for your location so that you've got some customized settings for that, whether it's some are local, some are AES50A, maybe you've got AES50A and B, whatever you've got. Your input side here for recording is when your band is playing, and then when you flip over to play, really you just want all of these to be set up on card. So let's keep going. All right, I want to jump in for just a second and let you know that after you've done this virtual sound check, you've run your multi-tracks back through your sound console and you've done some mixing, don't forget to reflip your inputs from play back to record, because when you come in on Sunday morning and your band starts to play and you don't have any inputs coming on, you're going to be really confused and you're going to spend a lot of time troubleshooting. So that's a little tip from those of us that have done it all too many times. All right, one other thing to point out here is this can get you in a world of trouble flipping between these settings if you're not familiar and used to doing it. So what I want to show you is right here on these little window indicators. Notice how I've got an A. So my bass is on channel 7 and it just says A. And that means that my inputs, this is on the band setting or record setting, so my inputs are coming through AES50A, and channel 7 is from channel 7. Notice channel 8 has an A, channel 9 has an A, and then notice here though, this says A09, and that's just because I have it routed. I have one acoustic guitar that's playing on stage. They're coming into two different channels, so I've made a secondary fader running on that same input, but it says A right now, A09. Now when I flip up on my screen to the play scene and I go to my card inputs, notice how they change from A now to C. So now it just says C, meaning it's coming from the card. C07, C08, and this one again is C09, even though it's channel 10. All right, so now we've finished up the work on the console for right now. Let's go ahead and dive into the laptop and get you guys coming on board in there. So as we dive into the computer here, what we're going to take a look at is a program we're going to download to allow us to multi-track record. So pick your browser of choice, go to Tracks Live, hit enter. It's going to come up with waves.com. We can click into that. You will need to create a login if you don't already have a login for waves.com. Once you're in, we can just do a search again for Tracks Live. It is a free download, which is really nice. So you can choose Mac or Windows. We'll download that. And then here we can install it. Once installed, we can go ahead and open this up. We can create a new session, but first I want to go to System Settings. And in here, this is where we can choose the interface, being the X USB, so it recognizes that the computer is already set up. We could adjust buffer and sample size, but it's not really a big concern for us right now. Also, we have the ability to do multi-out. We could choose stereo out, see how you have inputs on the left and outputs on the right, but we want more than just output 1 and 2 coming back into our console. So we'll hit multi-out, and what that does is a one-to-one mapping. So if you see right here, you've got input 1 that's coming in, and then it's going to go out, output 1. And this way, everything is mapping directly from the console coming into your Tracks Live. So if I scroll down here, I've got all 32 tracks posted with inputs and outputs. So that's the first thing I want to check. And then I click OK. Now I'm going to hit New Session. I can call it, we'll just call it Test. Call it whatever you want. Maybe you want to name it your rehearsal name, whatever the case may be. I'm going to expand this to be full screen. And at this point, all we have to do is hit record here, and they're armed. See how all of these tracks are armed now with red? And then if I come up and I hit record up here at the top, it will start to track and actually record stuff. Now there's lots of videos on how to, I'm going to stop this. There's lots of videos on how to use Tracks Live to your benefit, but this is just an easy DAW or digital audio workstation that we can quickly download, quickly install. It's free and it works well. So I'm going to try and delete all of these tracks that I just inputted here real quick. Delete those. All right, so I've got a microphone in my hand here. This is, you saw me plug this in earlier, and this is going into channel 32. So what you'll notice is at the top up here, we do get the metering options of all 32 channels. That is really handy to see what's working, what's not working. And the way that the X32 works is you, at default, when you use the routing and go out the card, the input hits the preamp and then goes out to your laptop. So whatever your preamp setting is, your top left knob, it says gain. Whatever your gain is on your console is what you're going to get directly fed into your right into your DAW for recording. That allows you to not have any EQ and compression recorded, which is actually a good thing when you want to do these virtual sound checks, because then when you hit play on your tracks and they go back through the console, then you're going to be able to adjust and fine-tune your EQ and compression. You're not going to be doubling up on it at all. So if I wanted to quickly just set up a thing and only record this one microphone, I could come in and just hit record enabled down here on track 32. And then when I hit record here, I can go ahead and talk into this, and you'll see that it's actually picking up some waveforms. It's a little small down there, but you can see the waveforms are coming in, and that's going to be a good, accurate representation of what's coming into your console through the microphone. So I stop that there. Now what I can do is play that back through. So at this point, all I have to do is switch the inputs from record to play on the console, come up here, and I can just hit play at the beginning, and you can see that this information is now going back in through the console. Now, to give you a better example of this, I use a different DAW. I've always used Persona Studio One. So if I open up Persona Studio One here, I can pull up tracks from my rehearsal last night, and you can see that I have a variety of things kind of preset. This DAW looks a little bit different, but they're all the same really in the end. But I've got kick, snare, tom 1, tom 2, got my overheads, bass, guitars, acoustic, keys, vocals, I've got some pads, some crowd mics, and I even set up a custom routing setup to be able to record the main outs that go into my room, as well as the outputs that go into my stream. So that just allows me to quickly listen to the stream as it was recorded, listen to the room as it was recorded, or I have all of the actual blank multi-tracks here, not blank, but all of the actual multi-tracks that came from the stage, and that allows me to hear and work with those individually through the console. So I'm going to pump these tracks back through, and we'll take a look at the console and show you how that works. All right, so right now what you can see is channel 32. You see a little bit of metering. This is coming directly from the microphone that I'm talking into. And so if I move the microphone, and then if I keep talking and it gets back here, so you can see that it is actually following my voice. And then what I can do is just come up and change this from record to play. I can go over to Tracks Live. And on Tracks Live, if I hit play, you'll now see that audio is coming right back through there. Now if I switch over though and I go to my Persona Studio One where I actually have my recordings, you'll see a lot more activity happen here. And what I can do, if I flip over to channel 1 through 16 where most of my inputs are, so now I can come up and just pick a spot in the middle of the song, and you'll see all of my meters are lighting up. I've got various different inputs coming in. We've also got, on this layer, I have the ability to listen to, I mapped my main output into 25 and 26, and I mapped my stream output 27, 28. So I was able to actually record stuff directly into my DAW, and then I could push it back through, listen to it on the PA. There's a couple complications with that, I know, because it's going to be hitting any EQ and compression that's on my main output. But as a quick reference, it's a quick way to track everything. Hey guys, I hope this has been helpful looking at how to multi-track record out of your X32 into a DAW. So doing this opens up a bunch of possibilities. You can now do your virtual sound checks. You can now refine your stream. You can even do what bands never get to do, and they get to hear themselves in the room with what they just recorded. Sometimes we'll do a listening party where we get the band to just come off stage and they can actually listen back to what they just did, and by flipping to the play side of things, go into my DAW and stop the recording and hit play, and they can hear their exact stuff right in time, right after they did it. And that can be a huge piece of feedback if they're trying to work on a transition, they're trying to see what it actually is going to feel like in the room. They've got the opportunity to hear that immediately, and that's a big thing. Also, what other possibilities could you do with these multi-tracks? I mean, you can stick them now in the box, is what we call it, in your DAW, and you could start to mess with EQ and compression. You could build a mix inside of the DAW that you could actually send to your band. Or if you don't have an X32 console at home, what you can do is put some headphones on and you can actually work on compression and EQ at home in the box. So that's a pretty cool idea. In fact, I've got some other videos that I'm going to link in the description below that talk about how a sound technician should be able to practice at home. Step one of that is getting multi-tracks recorded like we just talked about, but there's a 5-video series that walks you through building a real basic mix in a DAW. Now the DAW again that I'm using is Persona Studio One, but somehow you've got to get those tracks, and so starting out with Tracks Live is a great place to be. Well, thanks again for watching this one. If you've got questions, leave them in the comments section below. If you found this video to be helpful, go ahead and give it a thumbs up. And anyway, we will catch you guys in the next one. Peace.